Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well this fine Monday morning. Joining us today for Monday's Minutes is Jeff Pack with Oak Ridge Pest Control, and he's here to tell us how to prevent insects, critters from getting into our homes. And so, good morning, Jeff.
Good
Thank you so
morning.
much
Good
for
morning,
being here.
everyone.
Appreciate
No
you
problem.
taking time out of your busy day to
That's
be with us.
that's no problem. My pleasure.
And so, could you tell us what we need to do in each season to protect ourselves from ants, those little, what are those little bugs called that look
You
like?
got box elder bugs, sort of like a lightning bug, but have a red etching around the
Yes,
outside.
those, and then also those little things that look like ladybugs that come into
Yeah.
your house.
Those are Asian lady beetles. You'll usually have those, but those actually need to be treated in the fall rather than the spring.
Oh,
So if you spring, you're a little bit late on that one, but we'll get into that
Okay.
on the fall treatments. Those and stink bugs. Those two
yes.
show their presence in the fall and the spring, but the fall treatment's what you need to actually take care of those.
Oh, that's great to know. So, what do we need to do in spring?
Springtime, normally what you're going to have a problem with, you're going to have box elder bugs, which will be the warmer days of spring. They'll kind of cluster on the side of the house. You can have from hundreds to thousands. Typically, you'll see them on the warmer side. The side catches the most sun. They'll kind of nest at nighttime behind the gutters, under the siding, around any mulch areas. You can spray for those. Real simple to treat for. You can have an exterminator come out and spray for those. Some people actually try a home remedy, which can be water and like a Dawn dishwashing liquid, and you can spray them. Seems to work pretty well. But we'd be glad to take care of that for you as well. But it works. You also have to worry about ants in the spring. They're going to
Yes.
get real prominent, especially if it's real wet. Not a lot you can do home remedy wise. There are some baits that you can buy over the counter that work real well. They don't seem to have a real long lifespan, but you can have someone come out and do a perimeter treatment. There's a couple of chemicals. You've got probably the best on the market. It's a chemical called Termidor SC that you can use twice a year up to 4 times a year depending on your dilution rate, and those chemicals should last anywhere from 3 to 6 months per treatment. So they work really well. Shop around and kind of get different quotes from different companies. In this industry, there seems to be a wide variety of pricing, so some will be a lot more reasonable. Just, the main thing is ask what chemical they're using. Everybody uses about the same products, so as long as they're using the same product, by law they've got to put it out at a certain percentage rate, so you'll be getting the same effect. Just kind of shop around on that. Ants are one of the main things. Also, you'll have carpenter ants, the bigger black ants. Just because you see those on the house or they come out in the house doesn't mean you've got a problem. They will forage for food. One of the main issues with those, you'll have the fall time leaves that come down. A lot of times those leaves will gather around the foundation area. They love that to forage in those dead leaves, and they'll harbor in those dead leaves. So the big thing is in the fall, try to keep those leaves away from your foundation.
That's good information.
If you'll keep those pulled back, you'll have less of a chance for those ants. And also any shrubbery that's around the house,
Yeah.
make sure you leave an air gap. Don't let any of your shrubs or plants touch the house. And what's really important on that too is any trees. If you've got any overhanging limbs,
Yeah.
if they lay on the roof line, the ants will come up the tree and cross over and get into the house through that tree. So you need to make sure everything's trimmed back off of the house itself. And that will take care of the majority of it. And then of course, just try not to leave any crumbs or sweets, but we all have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's really the main things. You will have some Asian lady beetles that you'll see in the spring, but like I say, those are more of a fall. And you need to really treat for those around September or October, not really in the spring. Once they come out in the house, it's too late.
Yeah.
You could spray in the spring for those. They're going to die on their own anyway, so it's not really feasible. You'd be better off just kind of waiting it out and then spend that money in the fall to stop it from the next year.
Prevent it from the next year. Okay.
Also in the spring, you'll want to look out for termite swarms. Usually the warmer days of spring, anywhere from April through May, you'll have a termite swarm if you've got termite activity around the house. Just because you have the swarm doesn't mean you've got a termite problem in the house. They can swarm in the yard area and kind of gravitate toward the siding. They like light colored objects, and they'll go to sunlight. Now, if you have a swarm inside the home and they go to a window or to a table lamp, then you definitely want to get the house inspected and make sure you don't have something going on. But outside, it's common. They're actually very beneficial. We need them in the ecosystem to kill out these stumps and roots and all that stuff. So they're not a bad thing.
Okay.
We just don't want them in the house.
So what about mulch up close to your house? I see a lot of people that put mulch right up against their foundation.
Yeah, I would not recommend that. It's cellulose, so that's a natural attractant and a natural food source for termites. Any wood product, mulch, cardboard, anything that's made of cellulose is an attractant to termites.
Okay.
I would recommend either a pea gravel or a rock, or get the recycled rubber mulch.
Okay.
It's fairly expensive. It can be. It lasts forever. A couple benefits with that: the insects don't seem to like it. Especially the black mulch, it draws a lot of heat, so it keeps it too hot. So the insects don't like the heat from it as well.
Good.
Now, if you do happen to get termites and you have them in the house, you need a treatment. You've got a couple of different options. You can do a liquid treatment. One of those, probably the best liquid treatment, is the Termidor, in my opinion. Not a salesman or a rep for Termidor by no means. You've also got another product called Primus that's real well. You've got a conventional treatment, which would be where you drill the block and the brick around the house. This one's been drilled. You can see here the holes, and that's had a conventional treatment. When I started in this industry 34 years ago, that was basically the only treatment we had. So you would come in, it's very invasive. You drill all the block void, you drill the brick if it had a brick veneer, and you drill any slabs that adjoin the foundation. So if it had a garage or a porch, then you'd drill through that. Over the years, the industry's changed a little bit. We can actually do what's called a perimeter treatment, which does away with a lot of that drilling in the block and the brick. You still have to drill the slabs that adjoin the house, but it's not anywhere near as invasive as this is. You've also got what's called the baiting system, which a lot of times you'll see those. You'll either see a little green canister in the ground, or it'll be a brown and black canister.
Okay.
The green one is a Centricon, the brown and black is a Trilona. Both of them are excellent. I wouldn't choose one over the other personally. With those, you actually put those in the ground anywhere from 10 up to 20 feet apart around the entire structure. That counts as a full termite treatment. It kills the colonies. So it's, in my opinion, probably better long term. It can be a little bit more expensive long term. If you don't go with a baiting system, I would go with either a Termidor or a Primus liquid treatment. And like I say, you can do a perimeter treatment in a lot of occasions. If it's a real bad infestation, you may have to do a conventional treatment, which would be all the drilling that goes around. But termites are beneficial, and just because you see them in the yard does not by any means mean you've got them in the house. I would recommend a yearly inspection. Most companies do those for free. It doesn't cost you anything. I would be a little bit leery if they came out and inspected and just really pushed you a treatment as a preventative without having evidence of anything. A lot of companies will use that as a selling tool, that free inspection. But if you'll kind of check around, you can get multiple inspections. If it's free, you can get as many as you want to. Get different companies to come out and go with the one you feel most comfortable with.
Okay.
They do have different kind of warranties. Most of them have a retreatment warranty. A few will offer a repair warranty. Be real careful on the repair warranty. A lot of times you'll pay for something that when it comes down to the actual benefit, there's a lot of loopholes.
Okay.
So they'll try to get out of that. So
Yeah.
just be real careful, read the fine print. Some of them are great, but not all of them. But most everybody does a retreatment warranty. And if you do an inspection once a year, you'll find them before you got any significant damage, usually, unless you got a moisture problem. Moisture is probably one of the biggest problems we have with insects. Anytime you've got moisture, that equals problems. It draws termites, it draws ants, it draws roaches. Any bug out there likes moisture. So just kind of make sure you keep, that's why you want to leave an air gap as well.
Okay.
Keep any moisture away from the house you can.
So gutter extenders.
Gutter extenders, that does real well. If anything that, if it gathers, like if you've got a low spot on your foundation and you notice when you mow that it just kind of holds water, try to get somebody out to build that up a little bit and get it drained from the house. If that water seeps into that foundation there, you do have a high likelihood of termites finding that moisture area.
Okay.
And they will do what's called a shelter tube, which is a little dirt tunnel that will go up the block. Typically you won't see them on the outside, but you will see them on the inside. Another thing to look out for, especially with termites and moisture, is on your heating and air units. Make sure your drain pipe, which this one does great, it actually runs out into the yard.
Okay.
If you live in a slab house, a lot of times they'll have a split unit, so your unit's inside the home. They'll run the drain line out through the wall. I don't know why, but most contractors run it 3 or 4 inches out of the wall and just cut it off. So all summer that's dripping.
Right.
And you'll
at
have
your-
a puddle.
Oh,
so
yeah.
kind of run that out, or if you can, the best thing to do would be come out here and dig a hole 1 foot or 2 deep, put some gravel in it, tee that down and run it into that, make like a little drain system.
Yeah.
Couple 3 feet from the house, run that pipe in there and let it drain out through that that gravel, kind of leach out.
Yeah.
You just don't want any moisture against the foundation. It'll save you in the long run tremendously.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
So new construction.
Mm-hmm.
You treat for new construction,
I do.
and I didn't know that was something that was needed.
Yeah, especially if you get a home loan. This was bigger 20 years ago. Anytime you bought a house, whether it be new or existing, the finance company would recommend a termite letter or a termite treatment. A new home, they always recommended the termite treatment, which is a HUD form 99A and 99B, if I'm not mistaken. The last couple of years, the lending companies have got away from that a little bit.
Okay.
Most of your local ones will still require that. So what you can do is, once you're under construction on a home, they'll come out, treat the soil, and then treat under any slabs. It's going to be a lot cheaper on you to do a treatment in the front part than it will in the back part. So if you do the pre-treatment, it may cost you $200 to $400, but it's going to be a lot better than the $600, $700, $800 2 years later. Plus, it will prevent the termites. The pre-treatments, you can do either a liquid pre-treatment, or you can do a bait system pre-treatment, or there is one that's the BoreCare wood preservative treatment. So you actually treat the wood itself. That one has the best life. You're in 20 plus years on that one.
Excuse me, so sorry.
You're fine. It does really well. It is a little bit more expensive. But research those, kind of see what you think fits your budget the best. I would recommend one of the 3. It's going to cost you a little bit up front, but it's going to save you a whole lot down the road. And you can keep a renewal on those as well. So typically less than $100 a year, right at $100 a year, which that price will vary depending on size and as time goes on. But you can keep a renewal, so the company that does the original treatment will warranty that
that's
year
good.
after year.
So what about summer? Is there something we need to do in the summer?
Summer's going to be a lot like spring. You're going to have a lot of the same issues. Typically ants, you'll have them in the spring. They'll sort of die down a little bit late spring. If we have a drought situation, it gets real dry, ants will try to find water. So you're going to have them kind of relocate back in the house.
Okay.
But if you do the Termidor or the perimeter treatment. Some people will do it quarterly. You'll take care of that. It'll stop it before any problems. You'll also see some roaches, a lot of roach activity in the summertime, especially the wood roach or American roach. Those are pretty simple to take care of. Roaches are not the problem they were 30, 40 years ago.
Okay.
The baits and the sprays that they have on the market now are so much more advanced. 34 years ago when I started, you could go into a house that was infested with roaches. You were a year to year and a half spraying that
Wow.
to get them under control. I've seen the same situation now, 3 to 4 months, they're good,
They're
no
good.
problem. So that's a lot better.
Okay.
And in fall, we can get to the fall part. Those are going to, you need to do what's called a fall invader spray. It's going to be a perimeter spray around the house. Typically what we do is 2 to 3 feet out in the soil and 2 to 3 feet up on the house. And also we can do a mist on the eaves and around the windows. That's going to stop your Asian lady beetles, ladybugs, stink bugs, anything that normally you'll have a problem with in the fall and you'll see in the spring. So like with Asian lady beetle, what those actually do is they'll come in usually the warmer days of fall, last warmer days of fall. You'll see them fly on the house. What they do is they actually go in the eaves. So any of your soffit, you'll have little gaps that they'll go up into.
Yeah.
They nest under the insulation in the attic. So they'll kind of go in the attic and lay dormant for a while. And then in spring when it starts warming up, they come out. For some reason, seldom do they find the way they came in. So if you've got recessed lights or can lights,
Oh, yes.
ceiling fans, they'll get out through there, and normally they'll fly toward the window or your nightstand lamp. They're harmless. They do smell bad, both the Asian lady beetle and the stink bug.
Stink bugs, yeah.
But if you treat for those in the fall, that will take care of your springtime invasion of them, because they won't be able to harbor over the winter.
Gotcha.
So if you stop that, and typically a lot of that stuff, once you do that 1 to 2 years, it kind of dissipates. I've seen in mine, it may not be for everybody, but I can have a house that's had an issue. We can do a fall spray. That year it kind of takes care of it. And it seems like for some reason they don't tend to go back near as bad. So I don't know it's something you'll need to do every year, but you would at least once or twice.
Okay.
And also in the fall, you're going to have your rodents. Rodents are going to try to come in.
Yes.
Those are aggravating. Everybody
Yes.
has an issue. They will also come in the spring. So
Yeah, mice
Mice.
are bad about coming in.
mice are bad.
Yes.
You'll have that a couple times a year. They're getting in somewhere. Typically 99.9% of the time it's going to be around your unit. You've got the flashing that goes up against the house.
Yeah.
For some reason that's usually not sealed up real well. So once they get inside that flashing, it's wide open, because where they cut out the block to run your ductwork, that's an open area.
That's an open area.
So what you'll want to do is make sure you're sealed up all the way to the ground. I personally, and it may be a little bit overkill, but if your ductwork cover goes to the ground, I like to get a bag of Quikrete, and at the bottom just put a thin layer of that. Just put it out dry, let it go on the ground about a foot, and that'll prevent them from digging under into that area.
Oh, okay.
Check that. Some of your units set on a prefab pallet that's built into the unit, so you'll have little like 1-inch holes. This one doesn't, but 1-inch holes around it. Seal up those holes, because once they get in that hole, that will open up to the inside.
Okay.
So around your unit is the 99.9% where they're going to come in at. Also check around any gas line. Make sure that's sealed up and caulked.
Okay.
Exclusion is a big part of rodents. That I personally don't like using poisons. Once the rodent's in the house, you can use a rodenticide. You're going to have an odor from a rodenticide. It's very hard to get one that you're not going to have that odor.
Okay.
So if you can exclude them from getting in,
Mm-hmm.
you're way ahead of the ball game. And if you stop rodents, if you stop mice, you're going to stop snakes.
Yeah, we don't want those in there.
Yeah, you don't want those. So, but the rodents are going to be usually spring and fall. So
How do squirrels get in your attic?
they'll come in through the soffits usually.
Okay.
Now once they get in, that's a whole nother topic. I was licensed at one time to take care of that.
Yeah.
According to TWRA, I was the first one in the eastern part of this state licensed, but I didn't have time to do that in the regular pest too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would need to call a nuisance wildlife control company to come in
Okay.
and take care of that. Some pest control companies do that kind of on the side, but you actually need to be licensed and insured to do that.
Okay.
So anybody you hire to take care of the squirrels, possums, raccoons, skunks. Try to make sure they are licensed through the state because that is a requirement. There's certain rules they've got to go by.
Okay.
So I would just check on that and make sure they offered that.
So what takes care of the ants and those little ladybugs and stink bugs and things like that? Will that also take care of spiders? If you live on a farm, you'll know what a wolf spider is, and it will scare the bejesus out of you.
It will to a little. Spiders are skeletal, and their legs are not very porous. So they've got to actually, for a insecticide to be real effective, they need to let their abdomen kind of touch that insecticide.
Okay.
Spiders are skeletal. Unless they're setting, they're very seldom dragging their abdomen. Sprays will help. You will get a lot of them. I would not tell you you're going to get 100%. Anybody that tells you you'll get 100% control, that's usually not factual. Spiders are hard to deal with. In the country, they're hard to deal with, the bigger ones. But now, if you live on a lake or a river, anywhere near water, you're dealing with spiders. It's hard. They do have some chemicals that are labeled specifically for spiders. Spiders and scorpions. Believe it or not, scorpions can be a problem as well.
Okay.
The chemicals work real well on scorpions. They work on spiders, but not as great. I don't think you will ever, in my opinion, I don't think you'll ever get 100% control on spiders.
Okay.
Best thing to do, in my opinion, is, and a lot of pest control companies offer a webbing when they do your service, so they'll go around and kind of knock the webs down. Typically, that doesn't stay down for a month. Sometimes it will if you get a good perimeter spray, but typically it doesn't. You can go to some of the big box stores and buy that actual Weber head and the Extend-A-Wand. Once a week, just kind of go around and knock those webs down. As you do that, over time, you're going to take care of a lot of that.
Okay.
Just from you naturally taking the nest down. So it will help. And they're relatively inexpensive, less than $20. You can kind of get everything you need to take care of that.
Okay, so what if we get, springtime is flea and tick time.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have animals that majority stay inside, or how can we, if we get a flea infestation in the home, how can we take care of that?
Well, a couple different options. If you've got carpet, you can call an exterminator. It's probably going to be your best option on fleas. They can come in and do a surface spray on all your carpeted areas, your rugs, your furniture. Typically, most chemicals that we use with that, we can put an IGR or a growth regulator in that. So it's going to kill the fleas that are there, and it should prevent hatching of new fleas for several months. There are some aerosols that we could put out that do the same. That's for carpeted areas. If you live in a home that's laminate flooring, ceramic tile, or hardwood flooring, you've got to be real careful on your sprays you use to treat fleas. In that scenario, you do not want to mess the finish up on your floor.
Yeah.
And some of the chemicals can be a little, I'm not going to say harsh, but they can stain. So if you do a spray on that, you're going to want to test it. I wouldn't recommend it. Me personally, I will not treat for fleas on hardwood. I can do a crack and crevice around the baseboard areas. There are some old-time home remedies that will sound crazy, and I know a lot of people will say, well, he's crazy, but I've actually seen it work, and I've had customers that have done this, and it's worked real well. But you can get, go to one of the dollar stores or something, you can get just a nightlight, just a basic kid nightlight. Put a bowl of water under that nightlight, put the nightlight in the outlet 18 inches or so off the ground, put a bowl of water under that nightlight. At nighttime, turn all the other lights off, put the water in the bowl. You can add a little bit of dishwashing liquid to that if you want to. It may work a little better. I don't personally think it's necessary. I would rather use just a clear plain water.
Okay.
Usually, and I've seen this work on houses that were infested, turn that, you can put one of those lights in every room. You can get them for $1 a light.
Yeah.
So put them in every room, just a disposable bowl of water. Turn that on at night, turn all the other lights off. The fleas will gravitate, get in that water, and you'll actually trap the fleas. It may take 1 to 2 weeks, but you'll get them trapped. The main thing with that is you're not putting the insecticide on the surface, so you're not having to worry about the kids crawling on it, the dogs on it, cats on it. And if the cat or dog comes by and takes a drink out of that bowl of water, nothing hurt, nothing harm. You've got 2 different kinds of fleas. You've got a cat flea, which is going to be the small black flea, and you've got a dog flea, which is a larger brown flea. Cat fleas are much more aggressive. Anytime you've got a flea problem in the house, it's usually cat fleas. They're a lot more aggressive. Those things can lay dormant for several months.
Really?
Yeah, up to a year if I'm not mistaken. Usually what's going to hatch those out is going to be heat or vibration. So if you walk across that floor, that vibration will hatch them. Typically you won't have a problem with fleas if you've got a pet until you remove that pet from the home. Once that pet's gone, they've lost their host and they've lost their food source. That's when they're going to start biting you or little Johnny or Sally.
Yeah.
But they're not fun to deal with.
No.
It's not the cheapest thing to deal with unless you do the home remedies. If they work for you, that's great. The water seems to work better on hardwood and tile and laminate than carpet. Carpet areas, you're probably going to need to do some kind of spray.
Okay.
And you can hire somebody to come in and take care of that. There is some pretty good flea sprays over the counter. I've found that by the time you get them under control, you spent more on over the counter than you would have getting somebody in.
To come in and do
That's another one. Shop around and get the company that offers the better rate that still stands behind their work.
Yeah. That's
As long as you do that, you're good. Everybody uses the same products. So there's just a few products on the market. Some companies will say our price is this high because of what we're using.
Yeah.
They're using the same thing, that company, that their price is here. Legally, everybody's bound by the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. Any company that comes to your house should have a TDA number on that truck somewhere.
Okay.
They're regulated through the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. That's who holds their charter. That's who holds their license. Everybody's held to the same requirements. You've got to do what the label says. The label is the law, regardless to which company it is.
That's
So
good information.
don't just go by price and name. Everybody uses the same stuff. Some people's overhead is higher than others, and so you've got different pricings. I would go with who I felt comfortable with, who seems to give me a good service. And once you find somebody you like, just stick with them, and they'll do you right as long as you treat them right. So regardless to who it is, I think you've got a few bad ones in the industry, but most of them are really good. So just kind of watch what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much. This has been great. You gave us a lot of good information, and I appreciate you taking your
No
time
problem.
out of your day. You didn't have to do that, so I thank you for bringing that and giving us all that information. And Jeff Pack, Oak Ridge
Yeah.
Pest Control.
If we can help you, we'll be glad to. Stay pretty busy, so
Yeah, he's pretty
may not
busy.
be able to take anything on, but I would be glad to answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to, if I can help you in any way.
And he's really good about doing that. Anytime I call, he always answers and always very helpful.
I
So.
try, but I'm not going to say it's the best. But we'll help you any way we can.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.